The 31-page indictment alleges Manafort and Gates acted as unregistered agents of the Ukrainian government and political parties. They're accused of funneling $75 million to multiple shell companies in the United States and overseas.
Manafort allegedly laundered more than $18 million to pay for property renovations, landscaping, along with cars and clothing. CBS News legal analyst Rikki Klieman is here to explain how prosecutors are using the money laundering charges to build their case. Rikki, good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, all you have to do is read through this, and boy, it's detailed at every little payment to every landscaper and where it went through the money wire transfers. How do you build a case like that as a prosecutor?
Money laundering is really the movement of money, in essence, from the left hand to the right hand, but going through a series of transactions so that we don't know where it came from. In the United States, for example, if you deposit $10,000 or more, it then gets recorded. You have to fill out a form. So if you go around depositing $9,000 in 10 banks, you are money laundering. What happens in Manafort and Gates is that you're looking at financial institutions and financial criminals. So they wanted to hide, the left hand, that they were being paid by the Ukraine to lobby members of Congress and to get good things for the pro-Russia faction in the Ukraine. So you have to structure or transfer or layer this money by putting it through a series of transactions in multiple financial institutions so it comes out over here. So what did they do? They set up dummy companies, or what we call shell corporations. And when the money goes into there, and then it gets confused, and then it comes out, and what did they do with it? Well, we know, according to the indictment, that Manafort winds up with having payments for mortgages, for clothing. That's actually my favorite. $849,000 for men.
Not illegal to have an offshore entity, but it's illegal not to pay taxes on it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
So why didn't they want to register as a lobbyist for a foreign government?
Well, that's actually a very good question, because that would have made it simple. Apparently, many lobbyists in Washington don't go through this registration. A FARA is what we call it, Foreign Agent Registration Act prosecution, is very rare indeed. But the reality is, if they had simply registered, their problem was they'd have to account for all the money and they'd have to pay the taxes.
Okay, one of the most intriguing things is with George Papadopoulos. This young campaign staffer was arrested July 27th and has been, according to this document released last night, a sealed court document, he has been a proactive cooperator, willing to cooperate with the government. What does that likely mean he may have been doing in the past 3 months?
Well, one of the things that we look at when you decide to plead guilty and you've cooperated, are you a past cooperator? That is, you've told the government everything you already did. Or are you a quote-unquote proactive cooperator, meaning, in essence, you're working for the government.
Working how?
You're working to work down your sentence. So what might you do? You might exchange emails with people, text with people, talk to people, have phone calls with people.
So you can get evidence to give to the government. So do any of these charges, does the President of the United States have any reason to be concerned about the charges that we're hearing now?
Well, personally, I think he probably does have concerns, not only for himself, but his administration. But when it comes to legally, the Manafort-Gates indictment, on its face, read the indictment, all 31 pages, has nothing to do with President Trump or the campaign. But the obvious thing that the lawyers are saying, and that Bob Mueller would say, is, does the president have anything to worry about? Well, perhaps not yet.
Well, here's one reason, Mayor, and I asked Paula Reed to check this for me this morning, and she wrote back, the docket shows that there are 4 sealed indictments filed Friday with numbers between the indictments that we learned about yesterday. So those numbers do suggest that there are likely other people who have been charged by the special counsel that we don't yet know about, just like the Papadopoulos case.
Well, that's why Papadopoulos is so much more alarming, because one of the things that we know is if you seal one indictment and you've got one guy working for you, there are others.
The reason somebody ought to be concerned is this is a very aggressive effort, a very aggressive investigation, and it witnessed what happened yesterday.
He is relentless, he is dogged, and he is ethical. Bob Mueller will not rest. At the same time, if he doesn't find it, he will say he didn't find it.
Great. Thank you, Rikki.
Really interesting.
Well,
Thank
the
you,
name
Rikki.
Papadopoulos is something that we're all learning to say over and over again. Thank you, Rikki Klieman. Always good to have you at the table.